Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome to the video. Now, the vehicle I've got for you today is a 2011 Jeep Wrangler, and don't let the outside fool you, this Jeep is a lot dirtier than it's letting on. Okay, starting with the exterior of this dirty Jeep, and while I've definitely seen worse recently, there's still quite a bit of winter muck all around, especially in all the crevices, wheels, and on the running boards. But after popping the hood, I'll admit I was shocked to see how dirty it was. I have to think it hasn't been cleaned once since it was new, but looking inside, and this is where the real mess is. Now, besides the horrible stench of cigarette smoke, the carpets are a mess and there's tons of dog hair embedded in them. Besides that though, and there's just a pile of caked on dust covering every inch of this Jeep. But before we get started, take a second and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I post a new video like this every week, and if you've got the bell on, you'll get notified the moment they go live. Okay guys, well I for one am ready to tackle this Jeep today and completely transform it. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, well, getting to work on the Jeep now, and if you've watched the channel for a while, you'd know I've done several Jeep vehicles before, but never a Wrangler, so I'm honestly really looking forward to working on it today. And I also wanted to let you know that for those of you who enjoy seeing the owners' reactions to their transformed vehicles, well, make sure you stick around until the end of the video to catch that. Moving around the vehicle, and to give you a bit of background on it, the Jeep has a little over 190,000 kilometers on it, or about 118,000 miles, and with the owner living just outside of town and doing a fair bit of driving on gravel roads, all the dust inside isn't all that surprising, and it certainly explains why the engine bay is as dirty as it is. Okay, starting on these dirty wheels now, and after spraying on some of my Detail Geek wheel and tire cleaner, I'll use a variety of brushes to agitate and remove any dirt, tire blooming, and brake dust from the wheels, nearly all of which are available on my website at detailgeekautocare.com, as is the wheel and tire cleaner, which you can also dilute down to 2 to 1 if your wheels don't happen to be quite as dirty as these ones are. Alright, it's time now to tackle this dirty engine bay, and the first step here after disconnecting the battery is to get the entire engine bay covered in some degreaser, and then after I've let it sit for a minute to help break down the dirt and gunk, I'll go over all the flat surfaces with my wheel brush and basically use this anywhere it will fit. Then I'll use my smaller wheel and rim brush to get down into all the tighter areas, and then I'll also use a detail brush to get anywhere that I haven't gotten with the other two brushes. Now with everything clean, I'll go ahead and simply rinse down the entire engine bay, and it's important to note that you don't want to let your degreaser dry, so you definitely have to work quick. And if anyone is wondering why I do this after I've washed the vehicle, well, it's because if I did it first, a little bit of water would end up making its way underneath the hood when I pressure wash, which would ruin my work. So this way the engine bay stays perfect when I'm done, and it just takes a couple seconds to dry any water drips off the paint. Then with everything rinsed, I'll just quickly use my leaf blower to get rid of the majority of the water, and then simply finish drying things with a microfiber towel. Okay, with everything dry now, I'm using some 303 aerospace protectant this time for all the black plastics and hoses to dress them and really make this engine bay pop. And if you were wondering, this whole process usually takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, as the degreaser really does most of the work for me. Okay, with my respirator on now, I'll quickly get the front seats removed and taking a look at the mess underneath, and it's very clear this interior is worse than I thought. Alright, well, after removing all the personal items and garbage, including this butt bucket, which to be honest is a pretty funny name, I'll dump all the butts and ash out, get the vacuum plugged in, and then get to work on sucking up all the dog hair. Okay, working my way around this mid-grade carpet, and there really isn't a better moment to answer this week's members question, which comes from Cameron, and it's, does Mike have a job? So in the traditional definition of the word job, no, Mike doesn't have one, but it sure does seem like he's working to turn things around and maybe start taking responsibility for all of his yoga escapades, or it could also just be a ruse to get more screen time. I guess only time will tell. Now as I start on the seats, I figured I'd answer a question I see all the time, and that's regarding what vacuum I use. So it's a VacuFlow 466Q central vac, and the unit itself is located down in my basement. This is one of the pieces of equipment that I will be upgrading when I move into the studio, but for now it works incredibly well and offers ample suction power. Moving inside now, and like I've mentioned before, the reason I always start with the seats when extracting is because they take longer to dry out than carpets do, as the foam is thicker than under padding, and that's also why I always make sure to put a fair bit of downward pressure on the extractor as I make passes, so that I can ensure I get as much solution and water back out as possible. Starting on the carpets now, and like I mentioned earlier, this carpet is what I'd call mid-grade carpet, which means it's a bit thicker, has a longer pile, and makes vacuuming and extracting much easier. Even though the carpets were blanketed in dog hair, I didn't even need the lily brush today, as the hairs just weren't stuck in and the vacuum had no problem getting them out. And it's the same story with any embedded dirt or stains. The drill brush can easily loosen it up so the Bissell can suck it away. Here's the half bucket full of nasty and smelly water pulled from the Jeep today. Gross. Okay, working my way around all the interior trim with APC and the steamer, which is the most efficient and effective way to tackle caked on dirt like this. And for the second time this month, I had something unexpected happen during a detail. Halfway through this shot, the power went out, and after quickly checking the internet to see what might have caused the outage, I carried on and finished the section, but the power ended up being out for about an hour after a nearby transformer blew, though thankfully it didn't take longer than that and really didn't impact the detail at all. Alright, well, as I continue to work on the interior trim pieces I removed earlier, like this storage bin insert with pre-labeled holes that hold all the screws for when the doors or roof is removed, I wanted to quickly remind you guys that all the products and tools I use in my videos are listed down in the description for you, so feel free to check those out. The steamer is one of those and is a tool that I couldn't possibly detail without, so if you've got a mess in your vehicle, consider picking one up as it's a total game changer. Now with some of my Detail Geek paint sealant in hand, I'll get to work on applying a thin layer to the entire vehicle, and the sealant will greatly boost the depth and gloss of this black paint, leaving behind a hydrophobic layer of protection that will last for about 6 months. Okay, second last step before we see the final results, and that's to revive and UV protect all the faded exterior plastic with some aerospace protectant, which instantly deepens the color and makes it look incredible. Hey, how's it going? Come on in. Take a look.
Looks pretty awesome.
Looking good now, yeah.
That looks brand new. God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks a lot different, eh?
Yeah. We have to have a look inside. That's where most of the work was. So.
Yeah, looks awesome in there.
Yeah, no more dog hair.
Yeah, that was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's quite a bit in there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you.
Wow, hey?
Yeah.
What a difference.
Huge difference, yeah.
Lots of gravel dust too.
Oh yeah, she's pretty dusty.
Looks great.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, okay, I'll give you that. And,
All right.
Okay, enjoy it.
Thank you.
Great, see ya. Okay guys, well 12 hours later and the Jeep is looking absolutely incredible. And if you guys agree with me, go ahead and smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on one of these transformations. Enjoy the guitar outro, and I'll see you guys in the next one.